Hi, this is James of MegaLife21.com, hardest hitting internet talk radio station on the planet. This is sort of a continuation of the other video that we did last week about the book that Hugo Chavez gave current U.S. President Barack Obama at their meeting in Trinidad and Tobago. And I just want to thank everyone for your comments and support. With the first video, it was a great success. It got a lot of response and a lot of views, and I thank you for it. It's what I was discussing with the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman was the fact that the propaganda that you hear in America as you're growing up is in Hollywood and everything, and what the government teaches, you know, it sounds like, oh, all these people came from the old country, you know, the European European feudalistic colonization, where, you know, they wanted to make a new life here in the New World, and they wanted to escape religious persecution, and like in the case of the Puritans, who were actually right-wing fundamentalist crazy people who later on were responsible for the Salem witch hunt, okay, which is similar to the Spanish Inquisition, by the way. Anyway, that's why they were probably kicked out of England. And, you know, they just made it sound like all these colonists from Europe came here with good intentions, when in reality, you know, when they first came here, the Indians were really nice and hospitable to them, in the case of the Puritans, you know, and they taught them how to survive here in the New World. And then all of a sudden, the European colonists discovered gold. Okay, they discovered gold. The Indians had gold. It was plentiful, and, you know, and then that's when the greed started. And of course, with the Spanish conquistadors and Cortez and their representative from the Catholic Church, of course, the Roman Catholic Church, especially the early Roman Catholic Church, with all the corrupt popes that they had in their history, they loved gold too. They were old-time capitalists back then, you know, and then you know the rest. They took everything from the native people, Native Americans. They stole their land and everything, and they brought diseases like smallpox from Europe, and then that's not counting the genocide that they did back then. Just stealing everything from the Indians, taking away their culture, taking away their language, converting by the sword, so to speak. I mean, who were they, these right-wing fundamentalists, power-hungry, greedy Catholics from Europe? Who are they to tell an ancient people that are thousands of years old that their culture is wrong, that their culture and religion is barbaric? You know, they have no right to interfere. You know, it's like the old Star Trek episode where they mention this particular law about non-interference in other people's cultures. Well, they did not practice that then, and it was just it's kind of what modern day American free market capitalism does. Just uses the military to just go around the world and sniff out the money, sniff out the natural resources that have the potential to make the rich richer than they already are, and just exploit the land, invade, occupy, like what's happening in the Middle East and with Iraq. And they just continue doing what they did back then during the European feudalistic colonialization and their demon child, so to speak, American free market capitalism under neoconservatives, which is why, you know, G.W. Bush was real buddy-buddy with people like the President of Colombia, which would be an example of pure capitalism. since, you know, if you're there in that country and you have no insurance or money and you get sick, they let you die outside of the hospital. Okay, there is no social services for the poor. So that's pure capitalism. But this is pretty much what happened. But growing up in the United States with all the propaganda and with the movies that Hollywood put out and everything, it just sounded like all these people came to the New World with good intentions, and the kids are taught a crock of bullshit, you know, by our system. And I'd say gold was probably a very strong motivator for the Europeans and later on the United States to, well, mostly the Europeans, to colonize and influence and just take over completely the New World. And then later on that mentality transferred onto the more modern day American free market capitalism. And free market capitalism is just simply a modern day feudalistic oligarch, like the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman had told me. So what's your take on all that? Take.
Well, that's like a history lesson, no?
Yeah. It's a surprising history lesson to a lot of people, I bet, that thought that, you know, everything that the European colonists did and everything that the United States government did and does is all nice with good intentions.
Good intentions. Well, the good intentions are to make themselves rich, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
At the expense of somebody else, of course.
Yeah, exploitation of the natural resources. So this is pretty much the history of how the New World was exploited, just like everything concerning other sections of the world
or like within
were exploited.
In one country, there's always a part of the population which is exploited, which is the poor.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Same thing.
But look at the history.
One country, 10 countries.
Look at the history of Europe. They're all empires. Europeans seem to have this lust for power and wealth, and the history of Europe is empires. Between Alexander the Great, you know, in Greece, the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire with Charlemagne. It's just one after the next. They're all Napoleon, Adolf Hitler. There's one, Mussolini, one after the next. They're all empires because they have this obsession for expansion, money and greed and land.